Hey, welcome back to Calico's Garage. I'm Chris, and this is going to be episode number 4 of the channel. I didn't really think that I'd get any views, but I've actually got 8 subscribers, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, for today's episode, we're going to be working on getting the engine bay ready for adding the new AJEK member. It is kind of rusty, need to clean a lot of that off. And we're basically going to be removing these brackets. This section here, I have to remove this, but then we're also going to be cutting this out and plating it to make a little bit more room for the engine and the cylinder heads. Got to do that on both sides. And I'm also going to clean up a lot of the rust and stuff and get it prepped so that once that is all cleaned off, we can paint the engine bay, make it look a little bit better. There are also some holes that need to get patched where the heater core was. Right here is where the steering column is going to come through. There's actually a plate that is going to seal that off. But underneath, you can see that there is some rust and a couple other holes like there and there that I'm going to need to fill in. So I guess let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and remove the brake master cylinder. Okay, that's not going to work. Let's try this. Oh, much better. Okay. Okay, so we gotta loosen up the connector to the master cylinder here. Okay, that sounded destructive. All right, change of plan. The master cylinder is disconnected. It's right there now. And it didn't make too much of a mess. That's awesome. All right, I will call that a success. I guess we might as well take this off anyway because we're going to need it disconnected to put the new one on. Oh, okay, that's just spinning. That's great. All right. Now the master cylinder is totally disconnected. My nose just dripped. That's gross. Okay. What's next? Okay. That was easy.
hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
So as far as these strut towers go, I was able to drill out and break loose the spot welds that are down here on both sides and also underneath. So this section is technically free, but obviously it's still connected to this. So the next thing that I'm going to have to do is figure out a cut line. We're pretty much going to cut this section out. So this whole front part is going to be gone. And then I'm going to replace it with a flat sheet so it'll really be tucked in tight, because with the new suspension coilovers, they just connect up here and they don't really need a lot of space like the stock struts did. There was like a spring and a strut in here. You know, it was kind of tucked inside this area and it took up a lot of space, but we're getting into the 21st century now, so we're going to get rid of that. So I've got to do that on both sides here. And once that is done, or at least how I've got the lines mocked out, then I'm trying to decide if I want to cut it out with the plasma cutter or if I want to use just the wheel of death to cut those out. That's an angle grinder for those who don't know. And I'm not sure which one is going to be easier or less of a pain. They probably will both be about the same. So let me figure that out and we'll get to it. I've got the strut towers marked out where the cut lines will be, right along the outside here and over, and then of course it goes around to the other side, and that's on both sides. So this whole section here is going to get cut out and removed. Then there'll be a flat plate that goes kind of straight across here and then angled out. I'll put a picture over here of kind of what it'll look like once I'm done, hopefully. They make some aftermarket ones that you can get that you would just remove all the spot welds from around this whole thing. This whole piece would come out and then the new piece would just fit in and replace it, and there's just this little narrow area for the strut to attach. I debated on getting those just because I think that would be way easier, but I think I'm going to start out by just cutting these towers and see how it turns out. That'll save me a good chunk of change if I can just do it myself, make something work that way. But at least I do have option B if I need it. I think I'm also, while I'm cutting, I'm probably going to cut this part out just because there's all this rust damage. I'll probably make it small to begin with, and then once I get the engine in and the turbo and everything situated, I'll see if I want to make it any bigger, maybe have the exhaust exit through there. I don't know. Just some ideas. So I think what I'm going to do is take a paint marker and draw right along the edge of this tape just to kind of get a more permanent mark in case this tape comes off for some reason. Then I would still have the marks of where I'm going to cut. So let me grab the paint marker and I'll do that. And we'll be right back. There we go. The lines are on there, and that will be a much better guide. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I may just remove the tape anyway. What do you think? Should I do it? I'm going to do it. All right. Okay. Yeah, I think that will work quite nicely. And give me a nice clean cut line. And I don't, where's my knife? There we go. Perfect. Okay, so those are permanent, or at least until I cut them out. And that will be the next part once I decide how I'm going to cut them out.
Squirrel!
I was able to get some new floor pans for the Falcon, and they are just kind of roughly set in here to kind of give you an idea of how they will fit. There's going to be a lot of trimming and fitting and grinding and other fun activities that are going to need to take place before I can finally weld these in. I do also have the toe boards up there, which are going to go on either side there, but those do require some serious bending and forming before they're even going to remotely fit in that area. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty big project to do, but I'm up for the challenge. I made a decision, and I'm going to go ahead and use the plasma cutter to cut these out. As you can tell, it's the next day. This is going to be the first time using this new welder. I got a Cimder, kind of does everything. MIG welding, TIG welding, plasma cutting, does all kinds of stuff. So we'll see how it works. blew the breaker. Okay, that was pretty quick and easy, like I thought it would be. Not the straightest of cuts, but still cut it pretty quick and easy. So now I just have to pry it apart. Okay, we got them out. Took a lot more work than I was expecting, but they are out, which is fantastic. So the next thing that I will do is make a template for the front part here, and then another little piece that juts out here for both sides, and get those cut out of some sheet metal and welded in. And then this will be a nice solid piece again. I mean, it's still extremely solid and rigid, but having those extra plates in there is just going to stiffen everything up, make it a lot better. Also, once I get the engine and everything in here, I'm going to be getting a strut tower brace that will connect right about there and then attach to both sides, kind of like the stock ones did that I cut out, just to provide a bit more rigidity to the frame. And yeah, so unfortunately, that's going to be in the next episode. If you like what you're watching and you find it entertaining, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you really like it and you want to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when new videos are released. And that's it for this episode. I'll see you next time on Calico's Garage.